Hey guys, welcome back. So now, with getting back into death metal, we are covering the origin of Robin King. And I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, this is the worst Wayne ever. Like, this kid is evil incarnate. And I mean, like, of all the Nightmare Batman, like, there's been quite a few dark origins. But for this one, we're gonna need James Road, a time machine, and some rope. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so initially the Robin King one-shot, it starts off his origin from the funeral of his parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne, and how back at the funeral, Alfred had looked at this young Bruce, and he imagined that the child's mind was much like the bats at Wayne Manor, just frantic and flying everywhere in darkness. And the one-shot really just continues the story from here. But instead of taking this route, I wanted to double back a little bit and start off with what we had seen in Legends of the Dark Knights, because it was in that one-shot where we got a snippet of like his childhood all the way up to the death of his parents. And really it was there that we first seen that there was something extremely wrong with this kid, because from an early age he took joy in bringing pain to others, and all in all he really made James Gordon Jr. seem like a Cub Scout. But in this narrative, when we get to the tragic night where Bruce had lost his parents, in this case they had been leaving from the theater after watching Beware of the Grey Ghost, which Bruce didn't like because it was in black and white, which in his opinion took away from the realism of the red blood. But I gotta say, like, I appreciate the Grey Ghost detail being thrown in here, because it reminds me of that episode of Batman the Animated Series where the young Bruce idolized the Grey Ghost from the black and white TV shows, but in the Dark Multiverse it's a movie and this Bruce hates it. And I like how that was kind of flipped around. But with leaving the theater, they can't find Alfred in the car because a cop by the name of James Gordon made Alfred move the car, which then set up the situation for the three of them to meet Alfred around the corner. And as we know, cutting through Crime Alley just doesn't work well for the Waynes in any universe. And it definitely doesn't fly here, because when they run into Joe Chill, Bruce kills him. And like, I don't even know if he had the time to identify him as a robber yet. And then right after that, he then turns around and he kills Thomas and Martha Wayne. But then immediately after, he puts the gun in Joe Chill's hands, and when the police arrive, he just switches into this defenseless kid that appeared to be the victim of a tragic robbery and suicide. And it's like from here, then going to his parents' funeral, where we see that this Bruce was more inspired by a robin singing in the tree than he was by the bats screeching from the manor. And it's in this moment where he makes a self-oath that he'll lean into this dark pleasure and be free in it like a robin. But shortly after that, his lie quickly catches up with him, and Officer Gordon decrypts some details with the help of his daughter Barbara, and he visits Wayne Manor to tell Alfred. But then just like that, Bruce gets Officer Gordon, and then shortly after, he chases down and he ends Alfred Pennyworth. And it's really here where the story from Legends of the Dark Knights and the one-shot of Robin King overlap, because spanning from the time of the funeral, when he had made that self-oath, to sometime after the death of Alfred, we then see that this Bruce had spent nearly the entire family fortune on equipping his utility belt with the capabilities of killing pretty much any and everything, whether hero or villain in his universe. And some of these items he had outright bought, others he collected from those he had defeated, and amongst his collection he has like a fifth dimensional imp, a ring with the lightning from Zeus, an unbreakable Lobo hook, just to mention a few, plus the addition of items that we see throughout the course of death metal that aren't even listed here. But then from here we go to like the story like that we get with many other Nightmare Batman, where they just go through and they destroy everybody on their earth. And that's very much the case with Robin King. But also in this case we find out that he's used Wayne Enterprises to distribute and hide a number of his attacks, like a microwave cannon that he had sent to Jim Gordon, which then has me thinking, well, I guess he survived that arrow to the neck. But it just goes to show us, like, much like your traditional Batman, the Robin King uses every resource that he has possible. And he also matches that creativity when it comes to different ways of taking out all the heroes, because in the case of Firestorm, he sticks a black hole inversion ball into his head, which then causes him to literally implode. But the thing with the Robin King, with him going through his massacre with all the different heroes, he also had this vision of building like a Robin family, similar to the Bat family. But within his vision, he would stand as like this symbol so that other children like him, they would then gather, and they would then sing along with him in his twisted song. And that vision was kind of his end goal, and his vision after all of his slaughter on his world. But then it's also here where back at this time, he's then approached by the Batman Who Laughs, who then recruited the Robin King and told him the harsh reality that his reality was a reflection of a whole nother reality. But it's here at the time when he meets the Batman Who Laughs that he challenges him to leave this world and take his terror to where it could be more effective. But right after they leave, they then make a stop at Earth -22 in the Dark Multiverse, and it's here at the time where the Batman Who Laughs, he shows the Robin King what he had done in his reality and how the Batman Who Laughs had expanded his vision beyond just his Earth. But also when he brings Robin King here, it's like the Nightmare Batman tryouts, because it's also here we find out that this is where the Batman Who Laughs would bring these different Nightmare Batmen and really find out if they had what it took before allowing them to join his cause. But in the case of Robin King, the Batman Who Laughs, he didn't want Robin King to switch into a version of Batman. And mainly because he was aware of this younger Bruce's vision and he wanted him to stay true to it. So for his test of sorts, he then took him over to the Turn Robins into Groblins department. And back at the time, in this portion of the Batman Who Laughs world, this is where Robins from all over the Dark Multiverse, they would be dipped in Joker toxin and then join the others like we'd seen in Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal. But with the Batman Who Laughs bringing Robin King here, he then takes him through the Jokerized process, but when he does, the Robin King slips himself a pill which he was saving for Martian Manhunter that preserves a part of your conscious mind, and in the case of Martian Manhunter, he wanted him to consume that before being burned alive. But in this case, Robin King slips it to himself, but when he goes down to the toxin, he doesn't fully consume the pill, which then causes the pill to break and mix with the remaining portion of that vat. And in the case of Robin King, like this didn't have like the immediate effect like it sounded like it would have, because when he went under, the pill did mix with the Joker toxin, but instead of him coming out fully conscious and aware, the true portion of himself was locked in the smaller portion of his mind. And this is why for some time after then, he had just come off as like another one of the Groblins. But as the story continues, we're told that around the time of Death Metal issue 2, right after the Batman Who Laughs, he went through his full transformation, turning into the Batman Who Manhattans, that it was around this time that he had freed the Robin King, restored that conscious mind, and promoted him to a new position. And it's from that point forward that pretty much takes us through much of the Robin King antics that we've seen up to this point. But then from here, picking up after where we had left off with Death Metal issue 4, after the Batman Who Laughs had then become the Darkest Knight and he had just collected the remaining Crisis energy from Wally West. Because it's here where I can't stop thinking about what you guys were saying on Discord, like talking about the Batman who envies Stiltman. Like you guys was getting on this dude's legs. And I get it, because his pigeon-toed level is out of this world. But at the same time, I get it, because like the art style is telling the narrative and the exaggeration is intentionally a part of the storytelling. Like, I get it. But nonetheless, like some of these Spillmonger reactions literally will have me screaming. But I digress. But during this time right after Death Metal issue 4, you then have a case where the Robin King, he's using much of his tools and preparations on the Justice League and the Trinity, which mainly were originally purposed for the versions of the heroes on his world, with a kryptonite ring for Superman and a diamond of Hephaestus or Hephaestus, one of the two for Wonder Woman. And out of these 3 rings that he's equipped, in the case of Batman, there's just the pearl. Like just one of Martha's pearls. No extra powers, just a whole lot of disrespect. Like if Batman ever asked like what is special about that ring, Robin King would just be like, your mama. And that would have been all there was to say. But then this fight is cut short because the Darkest Knight, he pulls the Robin King from that battle in preparation at this point to take him back to Earth -22. And it's here with the Darkest Knight, he mentions that the pill that Robin King had tried to take back when he was Jokerized, because it had an interesting effect on the remaining Groblins, who had been watching the Robin King for some time. And because of that, it's here where the Darkest Knight, he tells Robin King like, look, you were right. Like with your vision of inspiring other Robins to follow you and be free like you, it had actually worked. And it's pretty crazy because the Darkest Knight, he had allowed this to happen for some time just to see if they would continue to side with him or to see if they would eventually take influence from the Robin King. But because of that, with the Darkest Knight seeing that these Groblins, they were taking influence from the Robin King, he then takes them back to the Robin Factory, which is what I keep calling it. I know that's not the name. But when Robin King gets there, instead of them saying Crow for the Darkest Knight, they're instead saying Cheer, which is Robin King's thing. And with this happening, like in a strange way, it almost feels like the Darkest Knight is officially promoting the Robin King to being like the new Batman Who Laughs. I don't know, that's just the vibe I'm getting. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so we can head to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below or on Discord, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.